For more than a decade, FTI has strived to become the leader in the aftermarket performance transmission and converter industry. We've joined forces with McLeod Driveline Components under the leadership of Top Fuel Funny Car pilot Paul Lee, and now have a larger distribution network, more resources, and more power. Come see us in the pits and ask how you can join the FTI family. It's not cheating, it is the competitive edge.
The number one source of friction in your engine is not what you think. Piston rings rubbing against the cylinder walls generate more friction than any other part of the engine. More friction and temperature means more wear and less horsepower. Fortunately, the team at Total Seal knows how to reduce friction and wear through innovative piston ring design. If it takes a piston, Total Seal can build a better ring.
This is WFO Radio.
Hey everybody, WFO Radio is back following up the Super Grip Thunder Valley Nationals. Bristol, baby, Bristol. We had a great time out there in between raindrops. Weather affected race, definitely. In fact, the Lucas Oil Series, we didn't even get it in. We did complete the Gator Nationals, but now we got to complete the Thunder Valley Nationals somewhere down the road. What a wild weekend. But we did make it through. We did get it done. Steve Torrance back in the winner's circle in Top Fuel. Funny Car, Ron Capps back in the winner's circle. And we're going to hear from Ron seconds from now, literal seconds. So if you're a fan of Ron Capps, if you're a fan of Nitro Funny Car, I ask you to repost the show on X, share the YouTube link, give us some comments in the chat, especially on YouTube. That all helps dramatically for the show getting out there and getting big views in its first couple of hours. We really appreciate that. Just amazing. Richard Gadson going to be on the show. First win in his career in the NHRA. We got a first-time winner. It's going to be awesome. Whole shot victory over Gaige in the final round. I had it in Drag Race Bracket Bonanza, finished 4th overall. Patting myself on the back. Amazing stuff. And then Greg Anderson, win number 110. 110. That's just outrageous. We're going to talk about that with Jason Galvin. Jason Galvin is going to come on, and he and we're going to recap the scuffle or the fracas or the kerfuffle or the brouhaha or whatever you want to call whatever that was. 40 grown men pushing and shoving each other. We're going to get into all of it. Now, am I saying that if that happened every other race, Pro Stock would be a lot more popular than it currently is? I think it is. I think it would be. Do I like seeing my friends do that? Not really. But it is what it is. It's not my choice. So we'll get into it. You'll hear about our sponsors and everybody who supports WFO Radio coming up. But right now, let's bring in our 3-time champ and our most recent Funny Car winner. It's been a minute since we've done this interview, the winner with Ron Capps. What's up, Ron? How are you?
How are you, Joe? Glad to be on. Glad I know I was on preseason. Yes. Well, we did win Bradenton.
Yes.
I like having to earn a win to get on here.
That's the original ethos of the show. You win your way on. That's how we broke out of the darkness. That the winners earned their way on when we were audio only. Remember that? It was just audio. And and it's still part of it. Not everybody. But you know, like there's some drivers. Tony Stewart had to earn his way on, but he did it with an A Fuel win, right? Like after that win, we had Tony. That counted. But you're back, baby. But now you're a big celeb, so we'd like to have you. You're good for the numbers.
Oh,
good for the retweets.
That's good to hear.
But it's got to be terrible, though, going through that, almost 2 years.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was the Hot Wheels car U.S. Nationals win that was our last win. You know, it's funny because last year, we get talked about, and I get asked all the time about last year was probably the first season. It might be the first season that I went. It's my 30th year driving, but I don't think I ever went without at least one win every season, which is crazy. And then I think Galvin or you or somebody reminded me it was the Hot Wheels car at Indy 2023 U.S. Nationals win was the last time we were in the winner's circle. So, Bristol's been pretty good to me. It's a challenging track, one of the most challenging for the teams, for the drivers, all that. But we finished 3rd in the world last year, even though it just seemed like we were fighting every single weekend to get our footing and for Guido to get that setup that he wanted to get comfortable with. So, things came together finally. beginning of the year with Bradenton, and now finally get a win. And really the big thing was to move up in the points and take advantage of a lot of the people in front of us, not, going out first round and being able to actually make some points up on the teams in front of us.
Yes. That's wild. The upsets, 2 races in a row. We've had crazy round 1 upsets. Bad for whoever gets upset. I think good for the sport in that it's not this just big 4 that's dominating all the time, or big 1 last year. Come championship time, I'm sure it will be. But right now, in the heat, in tricky conditions, New England was tricky, different kind of tricky. This was tricky. And I said a couple of times, I mentioned the new asphalt on the track, but I wonder if you can share with everybody. I'm under the understanding that 2 different things were going on. We had the new asphalt, but the new asphalt was actually pretty great. The problems and the trickiness wasn't the new asphalt and getting used to it. It was dealing with some of the other things as related to the character track, the original stuff. What can you share about why it was so challenging out there?
Well, it's just, the bumps that we've kind of worked our way around throughout the last, I don't know how many years. I mean, Kurt and some people went there in the off season here, actually a couple months ago, and really worked on trying to take some of those down. Here's the good thing. The good thing is this track was built for the fans. Got a tunnel underneath it. The fans can go under the tunnel, go right in the pit area. If you've never been to the Bristol Dragway or the Bristol NASCAR track, it is crazy. I mean, it is a sight to see. And I tell people that's one you got to knock off the bucket list. With that being said, like a lot of their tracks, they have the tunnel that goes from one side to the other. It is so convenient for fans. However, the rest of the track settles and those concrete tunnels don't. So it creates the way they build them. And I'm sure they've changed things now, but it just creates a little bit of a challenge when everything settles throughout the off season and the winter time and all that. So it's been bad a few times, but we've also won on some of those times. Excuse me. I remember a couple of years ago when we won the first run. It was our first win with Toyota, but I think a second round, I mean, we hit the bump and it disintegrated the body. Guys had to fix it. We came back and won the whole race, but it was really causing a lot of damage. So Marcus and all the people, the SMI people, they brought people, talented, Kurt and a lot of people that came in to help grind some of the high spots. Definitely was better, but it's not a perfect track. But with that being said, I don't think we want a perfect track every time. The crew chiefs might disagree with me, but it's so much character and so much goes into a win like a place like Bristol that it just feels like you've done a little more than usual to get that win when it's those many obstacles to get down that 1,000 foot.
I agree. I think it's fun. I love the low 380s, and there's a time and a place for that. The Bristol fans, they get something different, like 390s, 4.0s. It depends. It's very situational. As long as it's safe for you guys, that's the number one thing. Like, you guys got problems a couple of years ago.
Lots of upsets, man. And there's a good lane and a bad lane. I was talking to Dallas Glenn in the staging lanes, and he rolled up, and Greg hadn't quite pulled up, and we were getting ready to get suited up, and I'm like, hey, man, what? Because I didn't have lane choice. And I'm like, how are the lanes for you? And he said, well, Greg's flying today, which I hadn't followed them with the rain and all that throughout the day. And he said, but, man, it's definitely a disadvantage to have the right lane in pro stock, too. Dragsters, I wasn't sure. They're a little less forgiving. But for the short cars, major lane difference. And Guido, it wasn't ideal to have the right lane, although what we did in the final round was what Guido pulled off was unbelievable.
Well, we'll get to that. You were almost the marquee matchup. We did not make you and Hagen the marquee matchup.
Weird.
Well, we did. So we've seen that show before a few times, and it's great. It is definitely a marquee matchup, 7 championships worth, and it would have been fun. But we went with JR Todd and Spencer Hyde because they were a final round rematch. And the rematch of the previous week's final round is always fun to bring them back, right? It's like, hey, kind of like the Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty deal. It's like you get a shot at revenge. But you get through Hagen, and that set the tone for the day. That's a tough that's a tough out right there. You got to take down Hagen, and you did. You're 05, he's 06. You're 78, he's 70 thousandths of a second all the way down the racetrack. The best run of first round.
Yeah, that's a final round. It's a championship matchup always. We've been running each other a lot. He didn't qualify well. We did, and our congratulations, your number 3 qualifier, and you get Matt Hagen first round. So it's the way it's been a lot this season, especially Bristol. I mean, we saw a lot of really hitter cars that didn't quite get down at the right time. And so it really made for a weird ladder. And I did the autograph session sitting next to Spencer and Clay Milliken. And I was explaining to Spencer Hyde, I've known a long time, and he's new to the class. And I said, it's funny, you get sometimes the ladder at the end of Saturday and you look at it, and not that anything's easy, but you look and you go, okay. Here's who I might have if we win, if. And then sometimes you look and it was like murderer's row, we call it. And I told Spencer, I go, it's funny, when I see a ladder like that, it's most of the time that's when we win. Little did I know. So I did have the winner of Spencer and JR Todd. They were at the bottom of the bracket with us. So it was funny that I was explaining that to him. But yeah, after Hagen, congratulations. Now you got JR Todd, who just won, and he's been running great all weekend. So another huge matchup.
Yes. And you were able to take down JR. You're 66 on the tree, ran 4:11 and 3:12. They ran 4:32, but it was just brutal, a tough day.
We didn't have lane choice either, and it was worse because the sun was still out, and it made it even more difficult in the right lane. Guido had explained to me before the run, and Buddy Hall had gone off the end, so now we're sitting there for almost 30 minutes. I didn't get out of the car, so I was sitting in the car the whole time. It's hot, it's humid. I'm just staring at this lane that I have no idea if we're even going to negotiate 10 feet, let alone 30, or if it's going to hit the first bump and what it's going to do. And Guido told me what he wanted me to do, and he needed me to get over the right-hand side of the groove and over by the wall because the bumps were less over there in the right lane, and try to skirt that right side of the groove and then bring it back. And we laugh about it because they're lucky if I steer this thing straight. Funny cars are so difficult to drive, let alone put it where, a crew chief tells you he wants to do that. So that was a huge, huge win for us. That was probably, that might be the run for us.
Wow. It's amazing hearing you talk about it. Exactly. But this year, we get a better view of you trying to drive this thing than ever before with this visor cam. And it's my favorite new innovation is the drone. The drone is like number one. I love that drone cam because you see the scale of the facility and the pits and the people in the parking lot. And it's like you can see all these things that you could never see before. But number two, right behind it, is your visor cam. Because I want to be in there, but I don't want to pay the money or go through the risk. So I got you in there, and I was like, okay, he's looking left, he's looking right, he's looking down, he's giving a fist pump, he's fired up, the body goes down. Schmidt, here it's on now. Just one of the great innovations that we have seen, and you had it like every week, but the idea that you're, again, not just going straight, you're driving around bumps, that's amazing. That's it.
I lose you.
No, I got you.
Oh.
I got you. I just figured you were amazed by my commentary.
Oh,
your speech,
I didn't know it was a question, Joe.
Your speech is this great statement. You should say
yeah.
I love having
pins and needles. No, we, then of course the semifinals, we got back in the left lane against Dave Richards, and rain's threatening the whole time. And I've told fans before, I said, your meteorologist in your city or your news channel that you watch couldn't hold a feather to our crew chief, especially Guido. They know exactly weather-wise what's coming. They could go make a living easily. So we knew it was sort of coming, maybe not that we'd get that run out of the way, but he blew the tires off right away, and it put a cylinder out on our car down there a ways, and they shut it off on me, which is great. And we'd already seen Paul Lee in front of us go something, or no, he went 99. And so we knew we weren't going to have lane choice. And so in between runs, I don't mean to take your job right now, but then after that run, we get ready for the final, and then the rains come. So now we're waiting around.
No, I appreciate that. We're waiting around, and are we going to get it in? And that's when I left. I was gone. I went to catch a flight. Yes, I did. I had to go catch a flight. I did.
See, I had a flight at 7:40 out at, because Bristol fans, it's a small airport. So you get on a flight, and if you don't make it, like for me, I ended up having to ride with our team manager all the way to Charlotte after the win, got to my hotel at 3 a.m., got an hour and a half sleep, got on a flight and flew home.
Okay.
And that was brutal, but we won. So it was all worth it.
Well, exactly. Right. It's all worth it. So I had planned earlier this year, getting out of Tri-Cities, 8:10 p.m. We'll be done. Like, come on, we'll be done. We're not done. So
Don Perdome was texting me all day, and he's been following you guys on .tv, NHRA.tv. And every run I get commentary, a text from him, and he's got comments, and he's wondering what's going on and what Guido's doing. And, the snake, you got to answer the snake.
Of course.
He gets mad if I don't. But when the rains came, he sent me a picture. He went down the road from their house, and him and Lynn Perdome were having margaritas at this really good margarita place that it actually isn't far from my house. And he said, let me know when the rain stops. We're having margaritas. The picture he sent. It was pretty funny.
Amazing. Well, the airport was packed with drag racers, and people are trying to get on early flights, and my flight was delayed. So next thing you know, I'm sitting at in the bar with Aaron Brooks, and we're watching on NHRA.tv. And this is where I just say, like, guys, if you're not an NHRA.tv subscriber, and you're watching this show, like, so you're diehard enough to watch a live stream or a podcast during the week with me and Ron, but you're not watching NHRA.tv. Like, I don't get it. It's the best thing ever. We got
Make sure your TV still records Fox and FS1.
Of course.
We need the numbers, but yeah, you're right.
Have the numbers.
Everybody watches. My family watches NHRA.tv. It's definitely, I watch it when we're not running.
Well, exactly. So you go to the final and you beat Dave Richards. I want to say hats off to Dave Richards, by the way. That team is really, they're getting it. It just shows you what laps and support can do. They were like the ultimate part-time team, and now they're mixing it up and they're going down the track, and Jay Reiske's got it figuring it out, and just super great for them. Other side of the ladder, Paul Lee and Daniel Wilkerson. Paul Lee, so good. And Paul Lee coming into that final round, I'm thinking, man, this is going to be tough, but you were able to get the job done. Walk us through that final.
Yeah, we watched that pair in front of us. We watched Paul Lee go 399, and then mine went out, put a cylinder out, and they shut me off. So we were behind the 8-ball, man, and we had the right lane. The rain had came. So one thing I knew was a little bit better for us was it cooled off a little bit. It cleaned off the track with the rain. NHRA Safety Safari once again had an unbelievable, did a great job on the track. But we're down and out. We honestly, I mean, I'm in the car and I'm thinking they're going to have to mess up a little bit, but they're probably going to go mid-90s is what we figured, because that's what we would have ran over in that lane. In fact, Guido probably thought we would go 92, 93 in that lane had we had it. So here we are, final round, and we've let a couple get away. We lost in the final at Gainesville, and I'm like, man, we gotta finish this job. But I got to be honest with you. I had my doubts that we were even going to get down that lane. And once again, Guido told me what he wanted me to do. I stepped on the gas and it just started moving and hiking the front end and moving around on me. And so I could feel it so close to wanting to come loose every time it hit one of those little bumps, but I didn't see him and I could hear him out my window. And I was like, oh God. But once it got past where I knew the second bump was, and I started to kind of bring it back into the groove, and then I felt the clutch start locking up. What a feeling. I mean, I got on the radio right away, way sooner than I ever do, and I just started screaming at those guys. Like, those are the moments I love about what we do, because it was, you're counted out, basically. You're counting yourself almost out. I mean, you really don't think you're going to be able to pull off something like that. So I was so proud of Guido to do what he did. I was up for the job. I in my head, I was not losing to Paul Lee. That was just in my head. That's what I was going to do. And I was going to go up there and do my best in the car and drive my rear end off. And it's one of those moments where I was happy with the job I did in the car, but Guido and our Napa Auto Care team just threw down. And those are the kind of wins, man, you don't forget for a long time.
That is amazing hearing you say that. And I'm wondering, can you equate it to something in another sport? Is that the equivalent of the last lap pass? Is it the equivalent of the game-winning 3? Is it like you're feeling that thing? It's hooking up. You kind of feel like, all right, we're going to make it. And
I've been on it so many times, been on the other side of that, Joe. You go into a final round, you're like, oh, we got this. We got lane choice. The classic is when we got wilked at Indy, final round. Forget what year it was. I mean, we had lane choice. We've been running better all year long. Nobody gotten down the right lane very well, especially in funny car. And Tim Wilkerson stepped up and threw down probably run of the year is what I said it was that year. And it was like a low 90 or something ridiculous and whipped us. And so I've been on the other side of a lot of those. When I got the call, I looked over at Paul Lee. He was stunned. I mean, he was pale. His mouth was open. And I was kind of get his attention, just, getting ready to do my interview, just like, nice race, man. Great job. And he just had the look that I've been there and just stunned. Like, I'm sure their guys were counting that, counting the money, counting the chickens before they were hatched. Guarantee it. And on the other side of it, it's pretty cool to step up and do that sometimes.
Wow. No, listen, that's athletics, right? Paul's a competitor. That's why we run the races. The
Pacers' last shot the other night, first game of the NBA Finals, when he made that shot at the last second, that was the crowd just went silent, and that's kind of what it felt like. Except we were not silent.
Right. Everybody weighing in out there. Capps back in the winner's circle. Watch out. Stubo out there reposting our stream. Thank you very much, Sue. Appreciate it. Craig says, "Oh, he's got a real question for you. We're not going to go to that just yet. We're not going to go to that. So you win the race, and it's a big deal." And then, did it occur to you, man, it's been a minute. It's been a while since we did this, but more importantly, 8 wins at this place. It's just outrageous. You're gonna be a Thunder Valley legend at some point. It had to wash over you.
Yeah, a lot of Anytime you win anything more than John Forrest, you got something to do with a funny car. That's a huge thing. So to have that many wins is crazy. I can't even explain it. I've done it with several different crew chiefs throughout the years, ever since Don Perdome days and Ace. And so it's just a place. We feed off of how cool the fans are. It's about all you can say. But we needed it. We needed the shot in the arm. We've lost so many close rounds this year and last year that could have been the other way around. So it was nice to finally get that done. We're working on our stuff for next year with Matty Gordon, and that's coming to be close here. We should have something hopefully finalized, and we can have an announcement here in into the summer, and very exciting right now. But that helped. That win was huge.
You're 100 points out of the lead. Austin has lost back-to-back races to Buddy Hall. Shocker, but that's what's making it entertaining, right? It's like, oh man, you got to watch. It's not just going to be Austin Prock going out and winning every race. Championship time going to be different. We do have a couple of interesting questions, but before we move on, the quest for the clutch discs, right? That's why has this issue happened? And I kind of know, but I want you to coach everybody up on why their favorite driver goes on a streak of not winning because they were just winning and now they're not winning. And what's the difference? You don't just forget how to race. It has to do with consumable parts. And maybe this is something that's above the head of the average fan, but I think it's important for people to understand.
Yeah, the clutch discs are so important. More important than probably anything on the nitro cars, Top Fuel or funny car, because most teams they make the 12 or 13,000 horsepower. Some make a little more and make more torque a little bit, but for the most part, they all make that horsepower. But you got to have to harness it, and those 6 discs and 5 floaters that are in there, they can't be off even a little bit, or your car goes from running 395 to a 405 or 410 like that. So it's essential. So what happens is these big, large teams, they buy hundreds of them and they go through their stacks of clutch discs. And it's what DSR did when Don had all the teams. And then you get all the good ones you like and you have them for the whole year. So you can kind of get used to them. Well, our last couple of years, Guido's had to, and Rob Bonifani from Bonifani makes most of the clutch discs out there. And so we sort of have to get what we can get, but we're lucky because Rob Bonifani and Guido have gone way back. I know Rob forever, and he's really helped us out. We're a single car team. It may still seem like to fans I'm part of a multi-car team because I get this from the fans all the time, just the association all the years at Snakes, but especially DSR. So we're a single car team, and it's tough. It is tough to have nobody else to talk to for Guido as a teammate to bounce things off of, or to have the large amount of clutch discs. So it's been a battle. We are definitely have been at a disadvantage on the the amount of clutch discs. So we go 2 or 3 races, and then Guido's got to stick another clutch disc in there because we're out of what we could buy and we could afford to buy at the time. So it's tough. So those teams in the past you've seen really just run really good because they buy hundreds. And when I say hundreds, I mean big time expensive to buy clutch discs and Top Fuel and Funny Car. But the fans need to know. I look around at the landscape of Top Fuel and Funny Car, and the teams that the fans that have a car that was just hauling the mail, and then all of a sudden they're struggling. And I could name right off the top of my head several of them. They're going through clutch discs and they're changing and they're having to get used to them. And it is tough. So it's a disadvantage for the smaller teams. But Guido's done so well, and we just have to work through it. And, we build on our budget. We've got the best sponsors in the world, and you have to prioritize. And luckily we're tight with Bonifani, and at least we get a good pick of what we can afford.
Excellent. I see Richard Gadson. It totally makes sense. Richard Gadson down in the ready room. Richard, I see it. Well, I think about Steve Torrance and the 4 consecutive championships. And I've talked and spoken with Steve and those guys. They had what I would call clutch disc consistency through a large portion of that. And then once they're gone, they're gone. And then you got to learn something new. All right. Craig wants to know, Craig is a super stock racer. What's your Indy paint scheme going to be? Can you share? Is it special? Is it normal? What is it?
It's going to be different. And hopefully we have a big announcement to make at the same time at Indy. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Drama. That's a little tease from Ron Capps right there.
It will not be a throwback. I can tell you that, unfortunately. I
think it's okay. Take a break from the throwback. Like if you normalize it, then people get used to it and it's not a big deal. Any fans going to Night Under Fire? I can tell you right now, we're bringing the Army replica Dom Perdome tribute car that we ran at Indy last year. We're going to run it there. I'm not sure Bill Bader knows yet, but we're going to run it Night Under Fire in August. If you're going, it's going to be cool. Breaking news right here on WFO regarding Night Under Fire for Bill Bader. We'll be going there in a few weeks. All right, we're going to Richmond. Pro Stock not going to be there, but I got to ask you, I got to ask everyone, were you aware? Did you hear about the scuffle that happened between the Pro Stock teams? Does that make it to the fuel teams? Well, when I get out of here, I'm going to watch your show because I can't wait to hear more. During the rain out before the final, I saw a clip taken from the tower that showed the scuffle. And I couldn't tell who was in it. I was trying to show Guido, and I can't wait to hear more about it. I know that's all been building, and so it's exciting right now, man. Those two teams there's so much behind the scenes stuff in Pro Stock that I know about just from being around on both sides. And I love, those are two competitive teams. So it's fun to watch right now. It really is. Well, it is. And I know some stuff too. And I know that there's stuff out there, and I know that the stuff I don't know, we should exchange notes. Headed to Richmond next weekend, not this weekend, next weekend, headed to Richmond. And what a smooth surface, good racetrack, and the 3 qualifying runs in one day, 2-day event, the innovative event, second year. Give me a little Richmond preview. Can you keep it rolling? Yeah, you don't know. The good thing is, no matter what the weather, that is a track that's unbelievable. They did a great job. It could be hot again, and if it is, it's challenging. I love that because I feel like Guido's there. If it's throwdown, it's cool conditions, that track will hold national records. And Guido can throw down. So I feel comfortable both ways. I love it. I love the 3 runs. I love the format. I think NHRA, though, should make it Friday qualifying 3 runs next year and night racing. FS1 or Fox on Saturday night. Glenn, everybody at NHRA, change it up. Have the final round about 11 o'clock and have it live on Fox. Why we aren't doing that in the middle of summer in Richmond, I don't know. But that's there you go, Joe. I endorse this message. And Richard Gadson is down there going, yes. Everybody is yes. First round. Hey, it was cool to win with him, man. Normally we don't spray the champagne, but I heard Greg Anderson next to me when we popped the champagne for the circle. I go, we're not spraying each other, right? Because everybody's won a lot, and over the years. And I hear Greg go, no, we got a new guy over there. I did not, just so you know. I did not spray you. Watch the replay. I was going to say, we got replay videos.
I know who sprayed me, so I'll keep a mental note of that.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'm sure you're going to be in winner's circle a lot.
Yeah.
So
thank you, Ron, and
I'll be
congratulations.
safe with the other side there.
That's awesome. Well, I love that moment, and I think you guys should spray each other. But it was like the Formula One guys; they go shower and everything. Like you got to go to the media center.
I'd rather drink it, Joe.
You'd rather drink it. That's
waste good champagne.
That's a good answer, Ron Capps. All right, Ron, we'll let you go. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Congratulations on the win. We'll see you in a couple of weeks, but can't wait to hear all the news that you've teased on the show. Tremendous.
Yeah, man. And congrats on your win, dude. That was awesome.
Same to you, Ron. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, man. See you guys.
There he goes, Ron Capps, and we'll leave Richard with us. But Richard, we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we'll reset with you. I'm super excited. I had to bring you in. You endorse the night race concept.
100%. I'm right on Ron's back with that one.
Yeah, no, me too. I think all of us, just to get us out of the heat. Plus at night, the cars are so cool at night. All right, this guy, Richard Gadson, going to talk about his first ever win right after
Looking
this.
to replace your OEM diesel particulate filter or diesel oxidation catalyst? Look no further than DPF XFit, a complete line of aftermarket diesel particulate filters and diesel oxidation catalyst designed as an exact fit OEM replacement with all makes coverage for light, medium, and heavy-duty trucks. With thousands of units in stock, we ship the same or next day, and be sure to check out our comprehensive reverse OEM lookup tool. Always new, never remanufactured. For more information, be sure to visit dpfxfit.com. That's dpfxfit.com.
Redline Oil, formulated to win, proven by me.
Redline Oil, formulated to win.
Formulated to win.
Formulated to win, proven by me.
Formulated to win, proven by me.
Proven by me.
Proven by me.
Redline Oil, formulated to win, proven by me.
And a big thanks to the folks at Redline Synthetic Oil for jumping on board. If you've got a Beamer, by all means, their gear fluid, their tranny fluid, and of course their oil. If you got a top field dragster, there is none better. All right, let's bring it back. Richard Gadson. I saw you moving out there, like relocating, but now you are back. Richard, I am so happy that you Capps and I were talking about the original ethos of WFO is you got to win your way on. And you've won your way on a little, maybe, I don't know. Is it longer than you expected to get your first win? Is it right on time? What was your personal timeline?
You know what, man, that's a matter of perspective. My personal timeline was definitely quicker than it is. Just looking at the success that Gaige has had on this team and immediate success. I think I might have took for granted how hard some of the nuances are, the difference between, you can get to a certain point of good, you can get to a certain point of being fast, but that extra little bit that you need to win, and let alone win often. I think I took for granted how hard that last piece is. And Gaige kind of screwed that up for all of us, I think. And Brayton almost screwed it up for me this weekend too. But that was my personal timeline. But Eddie sent me a text, Sunday night, and he was like, "Hey, look, it took me 33 races before I ever won my first race. It took Andrew 23 or 28, and I might have those flip-flopped, or may have the numbers wrong. But he's like, you're in race 19, and you hold a Wally." So when I hear things like that, when I think about people like Mark Ingwerson, or I think about somebody who's been out there years and years and years and don't have one yet, or I think about a person like Steve Johnson who's been racing longer than I've been alive, and he has 5, 6, 7 of them, and it kind of, again, it's a perspective thing. And while we all want to win and we want to win as much as possible, I do humble myself to understanding that I'm in a position that most people would die to be in. I'm happy to get my first one in those 19 tries, but it felt like a really long time, especially when the bike that's 10 feet away wins almost every event. So what a day though. What a day it was. I'm really happy to have one.
No, super excited for you. And you've won over everybody with your respectful character. Like everybody that I know behind the scenes, like, yeah, we're talking about you behind your back. Okay, let's just we talk about everybody behind their back. It's our job to think about character and storylines and who's what and whatever. And everybody loves Richard Gadson. Everybody loves like that guy. Wow, what a good guy. What a good guy. I hope he wins it. But there's no guarantee. Like we could want you to win all day long, but maybe it wasn't going to happen. But now it happened, and it's just you're a winner in the NHRA at the highest level. And the way you did it, you were on the wheel. 19 first round against Charles, 33 on the Byron second round, 11 against Chase. That would have been Chase couldn't win that really based on what I'm seeing. He was 2,000 red. And then the final round, you had to conquer the guy who is the guy, a whole shot victory over Gaige. You're 14 on the tree. He's 32. You're 88-4, 88-2. So you rose to the occasion, and it's only fitting to me that you beat Gaige, the guy who is practically unbeatable.
Yeah, it was the lights thing, and if you think about it, right, the biggest thing for me was rebounding from Chicago. I had to rebound from Chicago, and in order to do that, I had a goal in mind. On paper, no disrespect intended, but on paper, I didn't need an 019 light against Charles Posky, but Chicago had an 080 light against Steve. On paper, I had a performance advantage. Last year, this very same race, Bristol, I lost to Gianna on a whole shot. And those are really probably, I think, the only two. No, I lost to Chase one other time on a whole shot. Usually, I'm pretty good on the tree. But I just said, you know what, man? Not today. I don't care what the paper looks like. This is NHRA Pro Stock Motorcycle. The field is stacked. It can be anybody's day. Charles Posse's still on a war bike at any moment. And Chase Van Sant in the semis against Chase, I knew I had, a little bit in the bank, or had previous rounds. But Chase, he always seems to pull 500-600s out of his, every time he raced me. And it's like, where was that all weekend? And I knew what he was good for on the tree. I knew it. I watched it happen around before me. So the easiest thing to do was to blanket it and treat everybody the same, from Gaige to Charles Posky. It didn't matter. And that's a mindset. That's something that, you sit there in the staging lanes and you think about, how do I want to race? How do I want to approach this round? Because there's a such thing, and it's a respectable decision to play it safe sometimes. We all do it every now and again, but I listened to, I can't remember if it was you, if it was Jordan, I don't remember, but you guys were talking about what it takes to win in Pro Stock Motorcycle right now, and how strange of a time it is with Gaige and Matt and their dominance. And they say, you know what, you're going to have to take it from them. And that was my mindset, and that's how much respect I have for those guys. Gaige, Matt, all the same, that you don't, it's not going to fall in your lap. You're not going to win it because you ride for Vance and Hines. You're not going to, it's not just, it does have to be your day, but you also have to be there for it to be your day. And that's what I wanted to do. I wasn't coming back to that trailer with any lazy light time slips. If I was going to win, it was going to take team lights all day. And thankfully I was able to do that, with the exception of the Byron.
I love that. I was part of the broadcast team that gave you a little motivation. Like that's, but that's the truth. It's just the truth, because Matt Smith, he is not going to give anybody anything.
Well, he's all of a sudden, he's a 00 and teen and 20 light. I know this weekend, trust me, us competitors, we're not looking at this weekend as what to expect from Matt Smith. We know what kind of a competitor he is. He had a bad day, a bad weekend, so to speak. But our class right now, listen, we make up for what we lack in thunder, the stands roaring like the Nitro cars. We make up for the lack of thunder and sheer competition. Our class is in a really special phase right now. It reminds me of Supercross. It reminds me of, you got a Jet Lawrence, which I will call Gaige Herrera, a sheer dominant figure. He's faster than everybody. He's the man. Then you got a veteran like Eli Tomac, which reminds me of Matt Smith. Savvy, knows how to race, knows how to win, even if he's not the fastest guy. You got, I kind of call myself a Chase Sexton, dangerous if I don't crash. and then you got, Chase Van Sant. I look at him as kind of like a Cooper Webb, just a gritty, grindy, guy. And then you have everybody else. So I just named 4 people, but like Braden Davis this weekend. Dude, that was like, that was crazy. And you got your Gianna, John Hall, Angie, they're all wild cards at any moment. Bostic, he went to the semifinals last race. There's Steve Johnson. I mean, it's just, our class is really stacked right now. We don't have a lot of bikes, but the bikes that are there, you can't afford to take a single round off. it's going to be an interesting year. I think you're going to see a lot of. I don't know if anybody's winning 11 races this year. That's how I feel.
No, I agree. And now there's that old, like, you got to learn how to win, and now you know how to win, and you've been there, and you're going to be rolling to the next final round without, like, man, it'd be great to win this. Like, I've done this before. A lot of people weighing in. Matt saying, way to go. I'm trying to get this comment come up on the screen. It says no, it doesn't want to come up on the screen. But this guy saying, congratulations. Everybody in the chat section. There we go. They're all there. Terry Sutton, most deserved win of the year. Richard is one of the hardest working guys out there. A genuine, great human. There we go. Congratulations, Richard. Everybody's saying congratulations. This guy says South Jersey represent.
Actually, Philly, but I do. Philly, we claim everything in the surrounding area. So,
all right.
Yeah. So, but I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody.
Philly, like Philadelphia, Philly.
Philadelphia, Philly. My address, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It's where I was born and raised.
All right. No, that's cool. I love Philly.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man. Go Eagles. But yeah, I appreciate everybody and the well wishes. It was a long. I'll call it I mentioned in one of the interviews that it was exhausting. I mentioned in probably every interview that it was exhausting. And I realized that without context, that could be taken wrong, but not physically. None of this is a physical thing. It was all just the mental capacity. If you want to find out what you're made of, come race NHRA in any class. I'm not just talking pro stock motorcycle. Come race NHRA. Get your teeth kicked in. Be good enough to feel like you should be winning and not winning, and you're going to find out real quick what you're made of. And that's what this experience has been, to pick yourself back up. I say it all the time. It's probably my most used statement, but I always say the best virtue you can have in drag racing is just short memory. If you lose, you got to forget about it. You got to go back up there and do it again, except it's just a saying. It's really hard to forget about it and pick yourself back up and go up there and do it again. It's much easier said than done, but you really have to week in, week out, physically, mentally, spiritually, from the top to the bottom, be prepared to go out here and compete against everybody else who's just as good. You're not the best in the world, and you're not 10 times better than the next person anymore. You are on the equal playing field with everybody every round. And it's hard to get to the finish line first 4 times in a row on Sunday. So you don't take any of them for granted. You might see these guys out here winning week after week. You see your Gauges and your Austin Procs. I don't know what they're made of or how they do that, but I just don't think people should ever take for granted that it's just their machines, their car, their bike. You got to be there in your head, clocked in all day and all night every weekend. So it's been a long process, man. I'm really happy though.
You should be, and you're doing a great job. Like I think hopefully people are realizing that a great ambassador for drag racing in general as a sport and as a competitor, we don't have to wait very long, right? Something you don't want to have a short memory about is this win. You'll be going to Richmond, no pro stock, so we won't be talking fisticuffs necessarily. Me and Jason Galvin are going to break that down in a few minutes. The big rivalry going on. I don't know if we want you guys doing that kind of stuff, but you get to go again on one of the very flat surfaces. We're doing the 3 qualifying sessions in a day, and I'm sure you're excited to get back to the track.
Well, no, not really. This is where I wish that I had that 6-week break between Gainesville and Charlotte, where you can just marvel and I can stare at my Wally, because in this sport you can go from hero to zero in a week. You could be riding this high and then you go to the next race and you don't have that kind of a day. So I really could use that 6-week break right now that we had between Gainesville and Charlotte, so I could soak in this a little bit. But no, just joking. Virginia, I'm happy to follow this race up with Virginia, because Virginia is one of my favorite places to race. That's probably more like home to me. It's not a hometown, but that's where the majority of my drag racing career has been displayed, in my Maryland International Raceway in Virginia Motorsports Park. So I've made, I would say, as many runs down that racetrack as anybody has ever been down a racetrack. And that's like a home area. That's where I went to my first final last year. And me and Gaige, we both had 022. That's funny. Last year, we went to a final together in Virginia. We both had the same light. This race, we went to the finals together, and we both had basically the same ET. So, every time we link up, it's a show. But I'm excited to go to Virginia. The 2-day format was really cool last year. You get 3 runs in one day. That makes me happy because, you know, I said recently we're rhythm riders. You know, the more you can stay in a rhythm, the more passes you can make, the easier it is to go out there and perform. So 3 runs in one day and then following up the next day with eliminations is pretty cool. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Final question. Fast Eddie wants to know. All right, Philly guy, what is your favorite cheesesteak place? What is the Gadson endorsement?
So anybody listening, do not. I don't want to talk anybody's business down. Pat's and Geno's are the tourist places. That is not where Philadelphia people go. That is not what you got to find, the mom and pop places. I'm a Jim's steak guy, Max's. Those are the best places. You got to kind of go in the hood a little bit and take your chances there. And that's where you'll find the really good cheesesteaks, not Pat's and Geno's down South Philly.
Listen, I get it. I will admit I went to Pat's and Geno's on the same day. I waited in one line and then I got back in and waited in the other.
Yeah.
I had that experience, but in my basic experience beyond that, I agree. Like, yeah, that's the gateway, maybe, the great Philly cheesesteak.
Yeah,
Richard,
that'll give you an introduction. And I know you said last question. 1 second before you go,
yes.
When I had my interviews this weekend, I really, you know, it was so much going on. I think everybody understands, but I talked a lot about myself and what this means to me, my family, and nobody said a word about that. But I really neglected to talk about my crew chief. I neglected to talk about Eddie, and he probably needed that run just as bad as I did. In that win, just as bad as I did. You know, we both have been through a lot over the last year. I know Eddie. He plays it cool. He's got the tough guy figure. He reads the same comments that I read. We listen to the same rumors. We both know what's out there and what people thought about the differences between the motorcycles in our camp. And we both really, the difference in performance, I should say, we both really needed that. I just wanted to thank Eddie for being a soldier, being in the trenches with me and just, just fighting through this with me. And then the rest of the team as well. Andrew Hines is probably the best leader you'll ever see, man. This team is not all of the conversations that happen after some of these losses that we've had to endure. All these conversations aren't easy. They're hard. They expect greatness, but they are fair. And we really worked hard this weekend. We had 2 engine swaps on Sunday. I had 3 different engines in my motorcycle on Sunday. That's the story that people don't know. You know, Buddy Hall, definitely wouldn't wish any misfortune on him or his car. Thankfully, he's okay. The car can be fixed, but he bought us some time to do an engine swap. And then Mother Nature saved us a little bit too. So my team worked really hard when we came back from the semis. They didn't even work on Gaige's bike. Everybody in the pit helped me change engines. I just want to thank everybody from top to bottom, from Terry to Ray, who drives the truck. We are a fighting team right now, and I just wanted to take a moment to thank those guys. Sorry for running over pretty long.
No, there's no over, and that was awesome. No, Richard, thank you very much. And but here's the thing, though. I believe that this is just the first of many, and so good luck. We'll see you in Richmond. Thank you very much, and congratulations on this amazing moment. Your first win in the NHRA.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.
There he goes, Richard Gadson with us here on WFO Radio. How great was that? How great is this guy? And he is just now, like blossoming onto the scene of NHRA drag racing. Just another reason to check out Pro Stock Motorcycle. They'll be racing in Richmond once again. All right, Jason Galvin will be joining us, and we're going to break it all down. What had happened was what? We're going to break it all down with Jason Galvin after this.
Foggit is a high-performance fogging oil designed especially for internal combustion engines. Foggit can be used by everyone. If you have a lawnmower, a jet ski, a motorcycle, a tractor, a high-performance car, a classic car, racing vehicles, if it has a cylinder wall, it needs Foggit.
It needs Foggit. I just fired up Project Pontiac earlier today, brought it over to my friend Rick McDonough, top sportsman winner Rick McDonough. We pulled the transmission. I'll be bringing it to FTI later on this week. We're going to get the converter adjustment, and that is a big deal. The folks at FTI, they'll do a converter for you, but if they don't exactly nail the stall speed the way you would want it to go down, they'll give you one update. which I think is amazing, we're going to do that. I do want to take a second before we get to Galvin to thank everybody who supports WFO Radio, like CWT Industries and Redline Oil, and of course, the folks at HusseyPerformance.net. They're not just copperhead gaskets anymore. Hussey Performance makes oil pan, valve cover, and they've got standard gasket material, but sourced here in America. Really amazing stuff. Laser cut, rapid customer service. Go to HusseyPerformance.net. If you want to give them a call, it's 412-716-4872. And they've got contingency programs, so it can make it be worth your while. Top alcohol dragster, top alcohol funny car, top dragster, top sportsman in the NHRA. And in the PDRA, it's top sportsman and top dragster. But they can do any design. And they have so much in their computer for laser cutting. HusseyPerformance.net. Give David Allen a call and the team. Of course, Bernie Speed Shop. Josh Hart and the team. 100,000 square feet. You got to hit them up. If you're looking to buy a classic car, if you're looking to sell a classic car, if you're looking for frame-off restorations, they do it all. They sell e-bikes there. Go to Bernie's website, bernies.com, or check out their social media, Bernie's Speed Shop. And also, big shout-out to the folks at Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, the Dragster Adventure, frankhawley.com. You can drive a dragster and get the feeling and the experience. Why are all these people so into drag racing? It's not a lot of money. You don't have to make any kind of investment other than the cost of it. You show up with the clothes on your back and you drive a dragster. frankhawley.com. Tell them you heard about it on WFO Radio. All right, let's bring on Galvin. Jason Galvin brought us home. I was watching you guys on Aaron Brooks's phone in Tri-Cities Airport.
Okay.
And
right.
it was great final rounds, man. Great final rounds. So we heard from Richard Gadson. We heard from Ron Capps. You heard the tail end of Richard Gadson. And I just want to give you an opportunity to comment on what you just witnessed right there. This guy, his winner interview, the glow, the great job, the just like what a quality individual.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, you and I have long admired Richard Gadson since he came into the sport and we got a chance to know him, in his rookie year with the Vance and Hines team, the way he carries himself. And, that's a rider who made a lot of mistakes last season that probably cost him multiple wins. May have cost him Rookie of the Year, honestly. Who knows? If Richard Gadson wins 2 or 3 events last year, is he the Rookie of the Year? I think there's a good chance. Brian Lones and I are both on record as, sorry, Tony, but Brian Lones and I think both voted for Richard, and it was like the closest vote of all time. And if he wins a couple of races, maybe it swings that, right? But it's never been a question about his talent. Ever been a question about his talent. And there's never been a question about how he, kind of, holds himself above all the stuff, right? And I know we're going to talk about what happened in Pro Stock this weekend. And there were a couple of times last year where Pro Stock Motorcycle got contentious, and Richard had this ability to kind of say his piece, but never take it to, a place that I think it's easy, especially in 2025 with social media and all of that, for people to get carried away. So he's been well respected since he really started racing, and his uncle Ricky's a legend of the kind of grudge world when it comes to motorcycle racing, and Richard comes from there as well, along with Gaige. And this was long overdue for him to win a race, no question about it. Long overdue. And I'm with you, Joe. And I told Richard that Sunday night when I had a chance to see him in the winter circle in Bristol. This feels like that moment, right, where he got one, and that should take some pressure off of him. And he talked about Eddie, and I know Eddie was feeling some of that pressure as well. Should take some pressure off of them. And there's no reason, I don't think, now why, for so long, Joe, we've rolled into a weekend, right? What, two and a half years now, we've rolled into the weekend. And it's been like, all right, who's winning Pro Stock Bike this weekend? Is it Gaige, or will this be one of the weekends when Matt pops up and wins the race, right? And I think we're going to go on a run here where we roll into the weekend and go, all right, who's going to win Pro Stock Motorcycle this weekend? Is it Gaige, Richard, or Matt? So and Braden that's great. The class needs that. And hello, Braden Davis, right? Like wow. Wow is the way to put it, right? And you and I were texting. We threw a stat out there Saturday in qualifying about number one qualifiers and earliest, and the most recent that we could find was Gary Scelzi was number one in his first race back in '97, and then we figured that it was actually Chip Ellis is what you found yesterday.
Price
so
texted me.
George Price texted you.
Number. He's like, yes. I don't have Jason's number. I got your number. It was Chip Ellis, first race, U.S. Nationals. Thank you, George. George is great.
Yes.
But
So
still,
you got tip of the hat to
first
Chip
race,
Ellis.
race. Amazing. Go ahead.
Yes, 100%. I was just say tip of the hat to Chip Ellis. And sorry that we missed that. But I mean, just an incredible, debut on that bike for Braden. And there's been a lot of conversations about that rental bike, right? There was a lot of, kind of stuff last season, I guess, out on the internet and conversations and rumors and this and that. And I think Braden and Vance and Hines dispelled that a little bit this week, which is something you and I talked about, right? Like, if you're going to have a rental bike, I mean, first off, how many people in our sport actually talk about, like, hey, this is a business, I mean, there's a lot of people out there renting equipment and paying for rides and stuff. And it's like this secret hush deal. Vance and Hines said, no, we're creating a motorcycle to try to get more competition in the class. We want to have one that somebody who's talented rider can get on and go compete and win events. Like, it's good for the class. Like, everybody talks about MSR and Vance and Hines and this and that. They're trying to crush each other and run the other one out of the sport because they're the only ones who want to win. It's like, do you know who that's bad for? Vance and Hines and MSR. Like, the second that Matt Smith hangs up, 4 motorcycles or Vance and Hines disappears, it's not good for the other side either. Like, it's just not. So having more parity in pro stock motorcycles is a good thing. And listen, Braden Davis, Richmond, like, would it surprise anybody if Braden Davis wins Richmond after what we saw this weekend? Wouldn't surprise me.
No,
not at all.
No, they got 3 riders. And now they got 3 riders. And he mentioned Eddie. I love Eddie Krawick. Eddie's a great guy. And Andrew and Matt, those guys, it's going to be a war. It's unfortunate that we've got a short bike count, but the bikes that are there are great. And I really think more people are going to come in when they see, like, oh, okay, now I get a chance to compete against Richard Gadson and Matt Smith and Gaige. And do I have what it takes? Like, do I? I think I'm good, but if you and no, again, no disrespect to any level of racing anywhere.
Yep.
But they don't make movies about the guy who's the grudge guy going and doing another grudge thing. He always goes to the pros and proves his point in professional motorsports, because that's where the best of the best are, and the most money and the safest tracks and the biggest tracks and the most fans and TV and spotlight. So it's going to be great. All right. Yeah. Let's also talk Steve Torrance, the big return. I requested Steve today. That's why I kind of moved around your time. Steve's got a double meeting at Capco. Couldn't break free. It's unfortunate. Maybe next week. But he and Justin Ashley in the final round. Justin, I think 5 final rounds this year. Is it 4? Is it 5? But Steve Torrance back in the winner's circle. And that's a big deal. Them Capco boys, Bobby Lagana, we're struggling so bad. And now they are back in the winner's circle.
Yeah, and think about that team, right? That's a team that, they skipped an event earlier this season and everybody freaked out. And, Steve's talked about how busy he's been at Capco, right? That's part of why Billy's not been out here this year. Like, they're busy running a business. And, Steve's wife, Natalie, like, runs a business, a very successful one. She's very busy. And they have 2 kids now. Like, two is a lot harder than 1. Ask me how I know, right? And so, I think there were some real questions about how much Steve Torrance we would see this year. Well, I mean, now we're in a spot, Steve Torrance skipped an event and he's still 7th in points, right? I mean, he's 7th in points. He is within 100 points of being 3rd in the championship hunt all of a sudden. So, that car has been showing real signs of life here over the last 3 or 4 events. And this was the weekend where it all came together. I don't think that surprises anybody who's followed Top Fuel well, but, I said it Sunday, and I believe it. If you're going to open the door for Steve Torrance and Bobby Lagana and Richard Hogan to find a little bit of momentum and to kind of get their mojo back a little bit here, then, I mean, that's great for us as fans, right? Because that's what you and I are, Joe. We're fans, and that's phenomenal. For us, it's great for the fans at home. It's going to make Top Fuel even more interesting as the season goes on, and Top Fuel is still wide open, for as good as Tony Stewart's been, 5 consecutive finals, went to the semis this week. Like, for as good as Tony Stewart's been, first career #1 qualifier, Top Fuel is truly wide open. We're going to get to the countdown and reset things, and you're going to be able to put 7 or 8 cars in a hat, I think, pull one out, and, feel pretty good about, your chances of winning the straw poll for who's going to be the Top Fuel world champion this year. I don't think that there's like a clear cut, 1 or 2 cars at this point that have separated themselves. And if anything, what this weekend did to me was prove that Top Fuel is still wide open, because here are Steve Torrance and Justin Ashley, emerging out of a tough field on a very difficult day and weekend to make power, to make it stick, to win rounds on both sides of the racetrack. it's top fuel's really fun right now, really fun. And Steve, listen, the look on Steve's face, like to me, that was a great moment, right? Because we all remember the Steve Torrance that, came to blows with Cameron Foray and, could, run his mouth with the best of them and rightfully, and then back it up, right? Like I'm going to tell you that I'm the baddest, what in the world. And then I'm going to go win every single race in the countdown to prove it to you. And, that Steve Torrance, the, throw punches.
He wasn't having fun. I think he said it. He told us it wasn't fun. He had backed himself. I don't want to say backed himself into a corner.
Won a bunch of races, but yeah, the stress, the anxiety, Joe, like we've all been there. Like, you get yourself into this area where you feel so much pressure. But I mean, like that was his first win. He's got 2 kids now. They're both there. And like that whole like post-race scene with Charlie running up and taking the trophy away. Like for me, that was really like an enlightening moment to see. I enjoyed that as a father, to see the happiness on Steve and Natalie's face, and like to see his daughter, I think, really understand. Like Steve won Seattle last year, but she's 4 now. She's getting to that age where she really understands, I think, what's going on, and to understand like, hey, like my daddy did something really awesome this weekend, and it just resonated. Like it was infectious. If you went, I know again, we're at the airport, like you said, but I went down to the winner's circle, and Bobby and Hoagie, like everything.
Did they break out the horn? Was the horn? Did they use the horn?
I left before they would have broke out the horn if they did, so I can neither confirm nor deny that. I have no idea.
It's something I don't know. I did the Capco horn.
I don't know either. Did the Capco horn return? That's a good question. I just know that it was a different ambiance down there around that team after they won that race, and I love it. I think that's going to be great for Top Fuel moving forward.
Good stuff. Speaking of young people, hi Uncle Jason, this is your niece Megan.
Yes, say hi to Megan. Hi Megan.
Hi Megan. Isn't that cute? Right? Like you're bringing your own audience in here. Blake says hi Jason.
I'm here for you, Joe.
How are you doing? Are you going to be racing are you going to be racing yourself at any NHRA races this year?
We're to be determined, Joe Castello. Not any national events. I know that the reign of trying to chase Indy is going to come to an end this year, at least for now. Too much going on, Joe.
Yeah,
it's too hard. What we got going on with the team and all of that. And
okay, look, Chase B. Freeman is out there. Chase is out there. Hi, Chase.
Hi, Chase. Oh, Chase Freeman. Why isn't he a guest today, Joe?
Well, so I didn't invite Greg on either this week because I wanted to breathe. I want this thing to breathe. I don't want to get anyone's opinion just yet. I want to collect the data. I want to think about what we saw. This guy saying that, he wasn't that into it. I love seeing people that are driven competitors, and every once in a while, there's going to be a little friction behind the scenes. There's been a lot of just talk about like
a lot.
Both teams accusing each other of breaking the rules. That's really it for everybody out there. Like we walk a little bit of a line because I don't want to misconstrue what's going out there. I don't want to build it into something that it's not. But over this season and always, everybody is kind of monitoring what everybody else is doing. And, there's concerns about who's within the rules. And it's the NHRA's tech department's job to make sure that they're within the rules. And so this past weekend, there were a couple of moments that got things hot. And right when Greg and Erica ran, the track layout is perfect for this kind of thing, right? Like, let's just funnel everybody down into one little narrow strip, and some conversation turned into some jawing and some pushing and some shoving, and it got a lot of people's attention. I'm not going to play the video back. There's a lot of videos and stuff out there. I'll drive you to NHRA's social media. Competition Plus has got a good video, but I was, I got there a little late. But what do you think this does for Pro Stock? I think the only real negative is that we're not racing in Richmond.
Right. Yeah. We can't pick it up next week. Yeah. Listen, I think, we live in a world, Joe, where anytime that, you have some extra publicity on something, right? What's the old adage, any publicity is good publicity. I think that there's especially in our world, I think there's a level where that stops, right? You think about outside sponsorship, and maybe there are some companies that are involved with each of these teams that are into this. I also think that there are some pretty major brands, non-endemic to NHRA, specifically brands on both cars that probably would prefer that this not get, more out of hand than it is right now, and turn into, actual real fisticuffs type of deal, which, I know there are plenty of people on the internet, if you read, who that's what they're all cheering for. Like, they're waiting to actually see this come to blows. And I don't think we needed to get there, but I think the passion's great. No question about it. There's no secret that KB and Elite don't like each other, right? It's well documented for many years now. I don't think that it's a secret that Erica and and Greg and specifically some people around Greg on that team don't see eye to eye. There are some other people kind of getting pulled into this now that are starting to have some opinions and thoughts that I'm not sure I thought would ever maybe get pulled into it, but I think that that's just a team and a passion thing. And I said it on Sunday, and I'll stand by this. If you're Elite Motorsports, at some point when you are used to winning, and Elite Motorsports is used to winning a lot, and you don't win anymore, and it's not just that you're not winning, but I mean, let's just call it what it is. They've not been particularly close, right? Yes, I understand, Epping and they got 2 cars to the semis and 1 to the final, but the Sunday performance of those machines also says that they got a little lucky along the way, and I think they would tell you that. Now, are they getting better? Yes, no question, but they're not where Elite is used to being. At some point, you get tired of that. Like, if all is come to the racetrack, be competitive, win, kick butt and take names, and that's what they did for a long time. And then you go look at the stretch from Vegas end of last year through now, where whatever KB found towards the end of last season, and I think they found it with Greg's car, was pretty clear, and then in the off season implemented that into everybody else's machine, whatever it is. And I think Elite thinks that whatever it is illegal in some way, shape, or form. At least they've insinuated that, I think, rather publicly. Whether you believe that it is or not doesn't really matter. The tech department for NHRA has, I think, investigated everything that people have asked of so far, not found anything with the KB team to disqualify any of those cars this season. Whatever it is that they found, it has been a huge performance advantage. And I would say too, Joe, that I think that you can look at, like, Matt Hartford is a good example of somebody who gets their power from KB, and whatever it was that KB found, they, last season, Matt couldn't figure out how to utilize it. Now, whether he got help from KB in the offseason to figure that out, or him and Eddie figured it out on their own, now Matt's car is running like the rest of the KB camp. I think Michael Heiner and Derek Kramer's team is probably the one KB supplied car that still hasn't quite harnessed that in full. But I mean, there's no question that, there are consistently 6 or 7 KB cars that have been better than the Elite cars. And I can't imagine that's fun. And if the Freeman family and the Elite team and Erica and how competitive they are and feisty they are, and I think that's what makes them all great. The flip side of that is you don't like losing, and I don't blame them. Like, I have a similar personality to that. Ask Tom Bayer how I am when I lose around in Super Comp. I mean, like, he knows to just check out and get away, right? Especially if it's like a me thing. And I think Elite's got to feel like a little bit right now, like, why can't we find whatever that is? And there's been a lot that's happened at Elite, right? They've lost engine builders and crew chiefs to medical, life-altering events, things that you don't have control over. And they got Mark Ingersoll back now, and it's helping. They're getting there. But I said it Friday. I mean, I talked to Kyle Bates down on the starting line, and they made a good run Friday night. I said, you guys look like you're getting there. I said, you look like you're getting better. And he stopped. He said, I wouldn't say that we're better, but I think that we are heading in the right direction, and we need a couple more weeks to get there. And I hope they get there because it's good for the class. I think that KB truly does believe that it's good for the class to have Elite at least be competitive. It's a similar conversation we just had to Pro Stock Motorcycle. But when you have 2 teams that don't get along and haven't for a long time, and there have been plenty of other scenarios where they've gone back and forth, when one team is inherently, beating up on the other team, which is what KB has done so far this season and really since Las Vegas last year, you kind of expected this to happen at some point. And I think it came to blows. It came to the combination of the Erica penalty and then the things that running a liner would imply about the car, which we talked about pretty extensively throughout the weekend after that happened, right? But would help you early in the run, would maybe prevent you from shaking the tires, which has been an issue for elite cars when they've tried to really get after it this year. And then she shook the tires. And so, you have this situation where the moon's aligned, right, Joe? The Swiss cheese model they talk about in airplane incidents, like all the holes in the Swiss cheese got to line up. All the holes in the Swiss cheese lined up on Sunday afternoon because you had the elite tried something. They interpreted the rules one way. The NHRA said that's not the correct way. The run was thrown out. It became public. It turned into a social media spat between members of both teams, which then led to Sunday, which led to Erica racing Greg round 2, and then Erica squares the tires. And here we are. So, I mean, the moon's aligned for that moment.
Yeah, it's fun.
It is though, right? It's good. Like,
fun.
Listen,
look, I'm a
Erica
high-minded
races Greg
person.
in the
I believe
semifinals in
in
Norwalk.
Yes.
Erica races Greg in the semifinals in Norwalk. That's going to be the most, or the finals, right? Like, let's get that. Like Summit's home
Capps
track,
is
all of
into it.
that.
People are into it.
Like that's going
this
to be the
is
most
it.
watched round of pro stock in 15 years if those two race each other
Let
deep
us
into
not
eliminations in Norwalk.
deny our animal instincts here. People like this stuff. They like it, and it got a lot of attention. And I don't want to see people getting teeth knocked out. I don't want to see
No,
that.
nobody wants to see that.
What we had a disagreement, and then in walks El Pacificador, which is the pacifier, the peacemaker, Fernando Quadra, right?
Man.
I looked it up last night thanks to AI, although my Spanish-speaking friends say it's not really a term. El Pacificador, the peacemaker, Fernando Quadra goes in there, and he's like, no, you can't do this. It was just another layer of competition.
And Fernando's going to miss like the next 5 races, Joe.
Yeah, that's another thing.
So now the peacemaker's not there. What happens in Norwalk,
What happens in Norwalk? And it's going to be hot. And that's another thing. It's hot. It's sticky. Everybody's aggravated. They're working so hard. Elite's been through some tough times back in the Dodge days, the Dodge program. They've dug their way out of difficult situations in the past. And so I fully expect them to do. It's like a pendulum. It swings. Right now, the pendulum has swung towards Greg. Greg, 110 wins, and the favorites to keep winning many races. Dallas Glenn is putting up a fight. Hartford's there, but Elite has just got to keep on working their situation, because in the countdown, nothing that happens right now matters.
Right.
Nothing matters. So if they can get fast by Indy, they can win a championship, and they know it. And so can you imagine the vibes come Vegas if all of a sudden Elite is in the championship hunt and all this domination early in the season? So it's going to be very entertaining.
I mean, that's the thing, right, Joe? The countdown here, and that's, if you're Elite, what are you doing now? I don't think that Elite Motorsports, and I believe this, I really don't believe Elite Motorsports is all that worried about winning Norwalk or winning Sonoma or winning Brainerd. Would they like to? 100%. I'm not saying they're not coming to the race not trying to win, right? No, you don't spend all that time and money on traveling, unloading your car to just come in and like not win. What are they working towards? Like Indy. I really believe if you went and put Richard and Chase and Mark and Erica in a corner and said there's no recorders anywhere, anything, gun to your head, like what's your plan? We need to be there by Indy, because Indy is the great reset for everybody. It's the biggest race of the year. You get the extra points, and then you go into the countdown and things reset. And like if the countdown started today, Greg Anderson would lose a 4-race lead on Aaron Stanfield, right? It's Greg, Dallas, Hartford, and Corey Reed. Greg Anderson is 4+ races up on the nearest Elite Motorsports car. Think about that. There's 6 races in the countdown. So by the time we get to Indy, like if the countdown didn't exist, Greg would have if this same pace stays, Greg will have mathematically basically eliminated all of Elite Motorsports from winning a championship, except we're going to reset things. And so if you're Elite, like your focus from here forward is make improvements every week so that when we get to the U.S. Nationals and our cars hit the track Friday night for what is usually the most important qualifying session, maybe of the season, that we can compete with KB come Friday night, Labor Day weekend, and then compete with them the rest of the season and give our drivers a chance. Like, they don't need to be better than KB. Just get there, get in the ballpark, and then watch Erica and Aaron and Jag, three of the most talented people to ever drop a clutch on a pro stock car, period, go to work and see what happens.
There you go. And Chase says he agrees. Be in championship form by Indy.
There you go.
That's it. That's what everyone's trying to. Cliff Swanson. Cliff, what's up? Total agreement with Jason on the pro stock thing. Shouldn't you be in the gym so next time you can fight your own battle, or maybe in the shop trying to get those cars faster so you don't have to work in the gray areas of the rules, says Paul Thompson. Like, I don't know. I like.
Listen, I don't know if that's like, it's supposed to be a dig at somebody on a leader.
Yeah, I don't know who it's even a dig at, right?
I'm not throwing swings at anybody on either side there, because you and I would probably get our what kicked by both
no,
teams.
Listen, so I can genuinely say, and our role is it's bizarre in that we got to be Switzerland. I have really strong and good positive relationships with many people on both sides of this deal.
As do I.
It's weird to watch it all go down and just observe how it goes. And I find it, as long as everybody can keep their heads on straight and not do something that totally embarrasses the whole sport of drag racing or something crazy, I think it's entertaining. This gentleman says it shows that more teams are needed. Well, like Randy says, you're speaking about 2 teams, more teams are needed. Go start one, like Randy, go start one, go start a pro stock team. Trying.
Pick the phone up and call Chris McGahey and ask him how easy it is to have a pro stock team that doesn't get their power from KB or Elite and be competitive. And Chris McGahey is the number 8 qualifier in Epping. And we all thought Chris has found something. Didn't qualify. Bristol, 5 days, really, Friday night was the session. When he didn't make the run Friday night, Chris knew he was in trouble. Saturday was similar, but the track was warmer, whatnot. Sunday, Epping, lane choice, round 1. Friday, Bristol, probably not qualifying this weekend.
It's crazy, but that's what's entertaining
it's not
about
easy. If it was easy, everybody built. Brandon Miller, how long have they been working at that? They're working. They're trying to bring that program back, but
Jim Yates and Roy Johnson.
Right. Yeah.
All right, moving on. So anyway, go watch videos. Everybody highlight the person that you're interested in following them through the brouhaha. That was my big debate. Of all of it, I was worried about me. Did I use the right word? I went and looked it up. Brouhaha. Yeah, brouhaha. And it does. It's commotion.
No,
it felt like it was a commotion. Yeah.
It was accurate.
I could have used scuffle. Could have used fracas.
Yeah, that would have been a good one. Yeah.
It would all been good. But anyway.
Well, just put it in the Rolodex for the next time, Joe.
Well, exactly. But one thing it was not was a fight. It was not.
No, it was not a fight.
A fight. No. And I do hear, I will say that just in putting out the record, there's a video of Kim doing the Brian Cox double bird to someone. I am under the impression, just for everybody wondering, that there was another side to the story. There was a
Correct.
Back and forth happening there. So for those that are wondering about that, but good stuff.
And I don't believe, just to finish that thought, Joe, I don't believe anybody at Elite would deny that there was not a separate side to that. I don't think Kim Anderson just went down the return road and, for the sake of it, felt like throwing those in one direction. There were people from the other camp on the other side of the fence, and it was just a continuation of things, which is good.
Everybody I've talked to, so here's the thing. This was fun. It was interesting. This was sports.
Right.
Look at you saw the hockey game last, right? The Florida Panthers.
Yeah, what happened? The entire team's fighting.
What happened in that hockey game was 1,000,000 times worse than what happened in the pro stock race, and nobody batted an eyelash. It's part of the sport.
That's the lead story on ESPN.com today. When was the last time that, even in the Stanley Cup Finals, when was the last time that hockey superseded NFL training camps in the NBA Finals on ESPN.com? And the answer is when both teams tried to clear the bench, which is what happened last night.
Yes. Yeah. Good stuff. Terry Sutton, very interesting time in pro stock. And then finally we heard from Capps, getting it done for the first time in a long time. And he was relieved.
Yeah. Listen, we're going to, I have it on good authority that we're going to rename Bristol Dragway to Ron Capps Dragway. next season. Huh. That's what we're doing. Done. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to speak it into existence. 8 wins at one track is wild, Joe. I mean, it was the 24th running of the Thunder Valley Nationals. Ron Capps has won a third of the races in the history of that facility, and we didn't even compete funny car at every one of those. You know, I mean, like nuts. What Ron Capps has done there is like borderline unfathomable. You know, it's impressive. But this is what Ron and Guido do best, right? Like, even when you think back to Ron Capps' championship years with Guido, you know, were there times where they threw down and had the quickest car on property? You bet. Yeah, no question. A better car than they've had the last year and a half? 100%, no question. For the most part, Ron Capps won world championships those years because every time they brought the Napa car to the line, it went down the track and it was third or fourth quickest car of funny car that session, right? Third or fourth quickest in qualifying. Round 1, third or fourth quickest. But beat the car in the other lane. You race the track and the car in the other lane. You don't race the number 1 qualifier until you race them. You don't race the record books because it's not worth anything anymore. It's not 30 years ago where we're giving bonus points out for world records, right? This is what Ron and Guido do best and always have. You know, when they won Indy 2 years ago, hot, muggy, crummy day, they raced the track. They beat everybody that day. Last year, went to the finals against Austin. Tough day, right? Generally speaking, to race funny cars because it's Indy, and Monday at Indy is always hot and muggy and the sun comes and goes and whatever. And they just outraced everybody until the final, and they didn't have enough for Jimmy Prock. And guess what? Neither did anybody else on planet Earth last year. So, you know, it's crazy that it was that big of a run, you know, where we were coming up on 2 years, you know, 20 months basically since 22 months since Ron Capps last won a funny car race. Pretty wild. I think 643 days. I looked it up and said it, the broadcast Sunday. It's 640 plus days. Pretty wild. Long time for Ron Capps to not win a race since the U.S. Nationals in 2023. But we're in a stretch here, Joe. Like I think we're in a good stretch for Ron Capps. I think we're in a good stretch for a lot of race teams. You know, the one thing that both Austin and Jack's teams kind of seem, you know, I don't want to say incapable of, but they're just struggling with right now is backing the car down when the conditions aren't right, you know, when it gets hot, when the track's not as good as, you know, everybody would like it to be, when the humidity is way up, when this, that, whatever. And, you know, we've seen it now the last couple of weeks at those, you know, even Jack, I know Jack went to the semis in Epping before he crashed, but Jack said he didn't really outrun anybody. I mean, he had a couple pedal fests and then, you know, turned the car around and put it in the wall. So, you know, this is an opportunity. Ron Capps, Dan Wilkerson, who had a great day yesterday. I think that you're going to see Spencer Hyde go some rounds and win a race here this summer at some point. I really do. I think that you're going to see J.R. Todd make a run up the point standings. I would not be surprised at all to see Dan Wilkerson finally break through in the next couple of events, right? I mean, Tim won Seattle a couple of years ago. I think that was Tim's last win, if I recall, with Seattle behind the wheel of the race car. So, you know, we're coming into a stretch here, the summer months, where it's about who can tame the beast, so to speak, on Sunday and funny car. And it's great to be the quick car Friday night when the sun's down and the track's really good. But, you know, we've seen now 2 weeks in a row some major early upsets. Alexis, I mean, the way that, you know, Alexis's car is run.
Yeah, wild.
You know, I think that Alexis would like to have round 1 back on Sunday. You know, it looked to me like the car got a little out of the groove down there, and that's when it spun the tires and it cost her the round. She'd probably like to have that back, but I mean, that car proved all weekend, Joe, that it was plenty capable of going down that track and you know, maybe turning wind lights on. I think Julie, when she gets back in Norwalk, like Del Worsham's savvy guy. Del's not trying to go out there and run 383 on every run. Del Worsham wants the car to go down the racetrack.
Yeah, so, Julie made it. You got to talk about Julie for a quick
Norwalk,
second.
Right? Norwalk is where Blake Alexander won a couple of years ago. I think he went to the finals last year too. You know, we're coming up to races here. Richmond, we know it's going to be hot. I mean, it was like 100 degrees there last year. We can just go ahead and pencil that in for Richmond, you know, next week. I think like this is the stretch where fun stuff, you know, everybody likes the underdog, right? This is the part of the year where I think you're going to start seeing some of that come to fruition.
Just Julie, want to shout her out, doing a great job. And she will be in Norwalk talking about the Airmine app. Put her over the top, and they will be back there, and they're trying to add races, which is super exciting. Just wanted to mention Julie. And our other winners, J.R. Gray in Pro Mod, John DeFlorian in Mountain Motor Pro Stock, Mark Powick in FlexJet Factory Stock Showdown.
And real quick, I want to tip the hat to John DeFlorian because you even looked at me kind of weird, right? And we talked about this.
Yes.
But I just want to put this out there, right? John DeFlorian's first Mountain Motor Pro Stock win. Like even Brett Kepner and I were texting about this last night. First points paying Mountain Motor Pro Stock win. The category became an official NHRA sanctioned points with a championship and a purse. Shout out to Jason Johnson, Nikki, and JHG for putting that deal together last season. So that was John DeFlorian's first win since it became this. But John, it's just, I think, his fifth win in NHRA competition. He won the U.S. Nationals when Mountain Motor Pro Stock debuted back in 2018 or 2019. So, Joe looked at me when I said first, he hasn't won a race, and he's like, really? I'm like, yeah, like as the points paying record book shows, that's the first one for John DeFlorian towards what could be a world championship, by the way. He's got a really good race car right now. And, he's talked about all the, drama that went in with Kazi, and, they left Chicago or Charlotte. They left Charlotte, and it put a hole in the block. It's the only motor John DeFlorian has, and had to go back to Kazi and get rebuilt. And John's building race cars in the meantime. And John does everything on his own. Joe, I know you know this. You know John really well. But I mean, that's a hardworking, like grassroots pro stock guy, as I think a lot of people in mountain motor are. It's one of the things we all love about mountain motor. Like look at Vincent Nobile and his dad John and Taylor, trying to do this, and look at Chris Powers, right? Like it's a two-man team, right? Chris rolls out there, Elijah Morton and his brother, right? I mean, like it's small teams that come out here to compete. It's what makes mountain motor so fun. Johnny Placino, it's a family operation, right? World champ last year. So I love how that class is developing. I hear that there are more Mountain Motor Pro Stock cars on the way, by the way, Joe, which is very exciting. I heard from a family member of a former Mission Foods Pro Stock competitor last week that they have a Mountain Motor car that is in the works that they hope to debut at some point this year as well. So that class is growing, and it's a lot of fun. But I just wanted to tip of the hat to John DeFlorian and also clear the air on that, because we've had some people who are like, he's won races before. And yes, he 100% has. It's not like John DeFlorian just broke through for the first time. But that's the first one that could count towards a potential championship run. And the championship in Mountain Motor Pro Stock is wide open right now.
Look at this guy. He says Galvin and Tucci, great announcing duo. Flying.
I don't know. I like Joe and Tucci, man.
No, man, I like Galvin and Tucci.
I just like Tucci.
We're in conflict, right? We all love
guy.
Al Tucci. Is a great person. He and I were together at the airport, and great guy. Like one thing we all love, Al Tucci. Final thought as we part ways. Get ready for Richmond next week.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the next couple of races. I think, like I said, the next two races between Richmond and Norwalk, it's just different. We're in a different time of the year, right? The Saturday triple header in Norwalk for qualifying, the heat, the humidity. It's going to become a real, I think, tuner driver track. It's not, and I love the throwdown runs in the early part of the year, and I love the late part of the season for that as well. But this is the time of year where racers that may not necessarily have the power and the equipment in all four of our pro classes, frankly, have an opportunity to, go out there and show that they can outrace somebody. And I think that's what you're going to see between here, Norwalk, Seattle, before we get back to Sonoma and things kind of start to, circle back towards the, who can really throw down session. So I'm excited for those events. And listen, Norwalk's 2 weeks away, and Joe and I are going to, eat our weight in ice cream and hang out with Bill Bader and pack the place, and it's going to be awesome.
Absolutely. Speaking of which, I got to figure out who's going to be in the annual ice cream eating contest.
Have you not made that decision yet?
Yet.
Are we taking applications?
We are.
Okay. Mission Food Series competitors only, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I wanted to ask Spencer Hyde if he liked ice cream. You got to start there, right? You like ice cream. And then
should have asked Richard Gadson.
Richard Gadson is a good one. We're working on. Me and Nikki, we have an algorithm.
Gianna needs some competition, Joe.
She does, because she takes it serious. She's actually out there trying to win.
We let the lactose intolerant woman come in and just blow the doors off the ice cream competition.
So there's that. All right. Good job, Jason Galvin. Appreciate you, buddy. Good job. There he goes. Jason Galvin.
In a couple weeks
here on WFO Radio. Richmond and then Norwalk. It's super exciting. Speaking of Sonoma, Power Edge, named presenting sponsor of the Denso NHRA Sonoma Nationals at Sonoma Raceway. It is not a shocker to me that Sonoma is one of the best supported races when it comes to sponsorship. That is an amazing race. This guy says, what has happened to Tasca? Tasca says he's going to run a new chassis, that they're not going to run that chassis anymore. He hates the chassis. That could be. I want to mention Greg Anderson. winning 1,000 rounds, an unrivaled feat, except for John Force. That's it. He and John Force, the only ones to do it. It's a shocker. All right, guys, put your comments in the comment section. Final comments. What do you think? What did you think about the fight? Brouhaha. Sorry. Scuffle. Fracas. What did you think? There's so much going on. Obviously, the Lucas Oil stuff kicked over to the Jeg Sports Nationals at South Georgia Motorsports Park. Shout out to the Patreons. So I wonder what Michael Heiner thinks about all this. I won't have to wait very long because we'll be doing a Hear It From Heiner episode later on today. And we'll be talking about all the things that have gone down in Pro Stock over the past few races. Hear It From Heiner, only available for Patreons. Patreon.com/WFO Radio. And you pick the level at which you join. A lot of people have joined for free. They get nothing. I don't know why. Maybe I should tease them with a little something since they're already signed up, but I don't make anything available for how could I do that when there's other people dropping a couple of bucks each month? Patreon.com/WFO Radio. Marvin Rodak, hardcore sponsor of WFO Radio. Great coffee. 817-924-6821. Hot sauces, spice rubs, grills, tools, tips, information. Go to the website, rodaxcoffeeandgrills.com, and he'll be at the Stampede of Speed in Dallas. Each year he goes to that. His shop is located in Fort Worth. For all you teams, you want to go get 10 pounds of coffee, swing by Rodax in the fall. 817-924-6821. Marvin Rodax, coffeeandgrills.com. And Bernie's and Hussey and Redline Oil, of course. FTI, I'll be bringing my transmission and torque converter up to them in the next couple of days. Jesse Converters, Matt Latino. This guy's unbelievable on the starting line. His reaction times are incredible, but not quite as good as their OE catalytic converter replacements, DPF XFit, and the G-Sport model, which is high performance. And of course, Total Seal piston rings, the leader in ring seal technology. TotalSeal.com. CWT Industries, balance machines for machine shops, all big supporters of WFO Radio. And get yourself a Project Pontiac shirt. It is all on sale in the WFO store. Get some merch, Morris Motorsports, the FIA stuff, and a special shout out to Right Trailers. 833-31-RIGHT, Right Trailers nationwide. All right, let's see what people have got to say. Wasn't there a scuffle with Elite and Gray Racing a few years back? I believe that there was. If memory serves me right, I feel like it was Gainesville. But that's the thing. It all comes down to what happens. It's okay for people to get animated, heated, and even a little physical. We see it happen with people on the same team sometimes. It's okay. And what it does is it brings in interested people, because you think about high school, right? People are like, oh my gosh, there's a fight. And then everybody runs and they want to name it. You talk about it. It's just human nature. But what I don't want to see is anybody get hurt or the sport get embarrassed, or the Steve Torrance situation with Cam Ferret was really eye-opening for me, because I thought that everybody wanted a moment like that, because they told me that over and over again. And when the moment happened, everybody that told me that they wanted that moment hated it. And they hated Steve. And Steve had to deal with that for the rest of it for 2 years, which was very unfair. Him and Cam had made up and they were friends. And there are still people to this day that just use that as their reason to not like Steve. So unless you're willing to carry that, it's like people make decisions for weird reasons. It's just that simple. Great ignition show, says Scott. We had fun. Now that we put the stopwatch on it, I think it's working much better. AJ says, great show. Thank you very much. SC Motorsports. Scott Thomas, the leader and won the week in the WFO Drag Race Bracket Bonanza League. Tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You want more? Life's a Drag will be live. They have confirmed they will be live. The guys from Life's a Drag Monica says, great show today. Brouhaha, kicked up an already high energy class. Yeah, people like it. They absolutely like what's going on. Life's a Drag. It is in the podcast feed as well. So if you haven't heard Jason and Elon, tomorrow's the day, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. Go to the YouTube channel, subscribe, click the bell, never miss a show. They've got their own playlist. And a lot of people buzzing about Life's a Drag. It's been fun. I hope that someone will tune in to watch them and eventually like this show. Big thanks to Ron Capps. Starting us off, Richard Gadson was amazing. First long-form interview with Richard on WFO. You got to win your way on. Congratulations to Mark Powick. J.R. Gray, Mike Stavrinos in the final round together. What a race. What a race. It's going to get better and better, guys. It's going to get better and better. Because we need the weather to give us a break. And hopefully that'll happen in Richmond. The weather will give us a break. But this weekend, you got an off weekend. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. You know I'm missing mine. First Father's Day without dad. It's going to be tough. But we'll be all right. I'm going to go work on the race car. Got some plans already. Gray Motorsports in Laughlin, Houston, 2017. Okay. Appreciate all you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you to our guests. Another week in the books. WFO.